Hello there everyone, this is Phantom Duos here, and today I'm going to be doing What If Deku Was Neglected? And yes, you guys maybe have questions of why Gojo is in the screen right now. There's multiple thoughts that are going through my head right now about this idea, but the neglected what if is just going to be close to a true neglected, but it's not fully neglected. It's going to be a somewhat neglected, but you'll understand once I get through the story. But it doesn't really go into so much of a neglected point of view in the story. So let's start. This is What If Deku Was Neglected. So we're going to start into the Quirk Doctor, where Inko had two kids. Hasashi in the story, Hasashi still disappeared as always. Izuku and his sister Izumi, yes, I'm making Inko have a daughter, were getting told by the Quirk Doctor Izumi can control flames and make them appear. But Izuku, the boy, you were born without one, without a quirk. A hint of disgust, with a hint of disgust in it. The doctor was talking. This was the doctor talking, because in this world, quirkless people are treated like worthless people. So basically, in this what if, the My Hero Academia treats quirkless people like nothing. They're useless. As Inko looked at Deku but didn't say anything about it, as she thanked the doctor and left with her two children. Inko was really just disappointed that one of her children got gifted a quirk while the other one had nothing. And in this one, Izuku has sober hair, but the gift of the sixth eye that Gojo has will be explained on in the later. So as they get home, Izumi was getting praised by Inko about her powers, but Izuku went to his room and cried in the comfort of his own arms. As we skip to the middle school Deku, basically present time Deku in the anime, where he is alone in the back of the class, thinking, when would this all end? Maybe I should end it. But then Bakugo stared at him and said, "Yo, Deku, come get your daily beating, you quirkless freak." As Deku over the years has done nothing to protect himself from Bakugo, as Izumi over the years started dating Bakugo, so she was just watching her brother getting beaten, as we see Bakugo land the finishing hit on Deku, hitting him with an explosion at full force, which ended up with Deku pretty wounded on the floor, as all of them left him on the floor, making fun of him for being weak. Where we see Deku's thought, why aren't I dead? Why can't I just die already? But then Izuku got up from the floor and started walking home. And yes, Deku was holding his arm. His right arm was bleeding from his shoulder down. Blood was dripping, but he was managing to hold it. But as over the years, Inko had been working multiple jobs to support Izuku. But because of this, she failed to see what is going on with her children's life. Where Izuku gets home, he finds his mother sleeping on the couch as he puts a blanket on her and looks and says, "I may hate you a lot for not caring for me as much as you have cared for my sister, but you're still my mother, and I don't want anything to happen to you." As Izuku goes to bed. But before he went to bed, he checked on his sister and saw she was sleeping. As he smiled and went to bed. Although he hates Bakugo and how his sister is always on his side, he still loves his family. Where we see Izuku's mindset, he was walking around in an empty darkness. This is basically 13-year-old Izuku in middle school. And he's walking around his mindset as this is the mindset of a tired person who's tired of life and everything. As empty darkness was just staring at Deku, as someone's gaze stared down at Deku and said, I guess it's time for you to have his powers. Maybe, just maybe one day, you'll meet him. And said, I'll grant you the gift of the Gojo clan. But in return, you will know everything he did and learn. Because you suffer long enough, child. Just know you are a child of the Gojo clan. and the second strongest in this world after him. And yes, the My Hero Academia is gonna be years after the JJK series, meaning JJK was past timelines, past time, and My Hero Academia is like present time, meaning everybody has powers. Cursed energy has been long gone, but it still exists. It's still a high percentage of people. People that are quirkless could have a high chance of having it, but could also not have it unlocked because they haven't been present in front of a curse. As Deku felt a massive wave of pain going through his body, where he then woke up in cold sweat, as his eyes were still closed and he wondered, why can I not wake up? What's going on? But out of nowhere, he was then tapped in the head with a finger. As the finger tapped him, he woke up. He looked at the time and said, as he saw it was time for school. But when he got up, Deku looked at the mirror, saw nothing, but he still wasn't looking at his eyes. As he just was looking at his body, as he saw nothing's wrong with me. As he then got up, took a shower, brushed his teeth, but then Deku noticed a bit of blue in his eyes, but through it, and thought it was a dream, and left for school, where today was the day where everyone were told if they were accepted to UA or any other high school. As the teacher said, Izuku, Bakugo, and Hisumi were all accepted into UA High, where Bakugo did everything in the anime. As Izuku left school to find a different route home, because he didn't want to see Bakugo. Izuku arrived home early. He went to his room. He then took a shower and he looked in the mirror. He saw that his eyes were fully blue, meaning he looked exactly like the image in the screens that you guys see right now. He looked exactly like that. As Deku said, what is going on? And yes, the sludge villain attack would happen a bit later after this. As Deku then said, where's my sister at? As Deku didn't really care that his eyes were fully blue. As long as he didn't look similar to his sisters to him, he felt that this is for the best. As Deku then put on his jacket and left to see where his sister was. But before Deku could do anything, Deku's route was really strange. As an old man covered in a hoodie saw Deku and asked him for a change. This is a homeless man. As Deku said, I think I only got $5 on me, but I hope this can help you. But then Deku gave it to him and the old man, as the old man was grateful for Izuku, and gave him a finger, as he said, take this, kid. This object is from a certain object that can protect people as long as you wear it around. It can protect you from curses and from bad luck. As Deku said, no, it's really good, sir. I don't really need it. As he said, take it from me, child, please. You helped me so much. As Deku took it and put it in his pocket and said, thank you, sir. I hope you live a good life. As Deku left, running, looking for his sister. But then Deku saw an explosion and started running faster towards it, leaving the old man. For the first time in years, he is going to be as the old man said this, for the first time in years, he is going to be a member of that clan. Where then the old man disappeared in the wind. But then we get to Izuku, where he sees his sister in a problem because of the sludge villain, knowing he can't do anything. Because of the sludge villain, knowing he can't do anything against Bakugo, he took Izumi, who still didn't have full control of her quirk but was able to use it at a good range. Bakugo was trying to do something to the sludge villain, but every time he did, the sludge villain would just get closer and closer to Izumi. As out of nowhere, Deku was just seeing and he said, oh god, what am I supposed to do? My sister's gonna die. As Deku then felt a random headache as he saw a memory of a technique, as he said, okay, what's going on? I normally don't see this. As the technique was then shown in his head, where he puts up one finger as he then put up his whole hand and then yelled, "Hollow purple!" As a giant orb of purple energy appeared in his hand, and he then launched it at the sludge villain. And yes, I'm not making him kill him. I do not need Isuku going to jail. Please do not come after me on that. As Isuku then saw that the sludge villain was then hit by the attack and was sent flying into a wall under the bridge as the sludge attack happened. As Deku then ran away from the scene, and Bakugo saved his girlfriend, aka Izuku's sister, and wondered who threw that attack. And yes, the attack was nullified, meaning Izuku, because of Izuku's memory, he was able to nullify to the point where, yes, I'm making Izuku a bit more stronger than Gojo, where he is able to nullify every curse technique that he has. Izuku was able to nullify to the point where his sister wasn't gonna get hurt. But then we see Deku on the forest screaming, "Who are you? Why are you in my head?" As out of nowhere, the dream said, a flashback showed on his head, "Hi, I'm Gojo," as it then disappeared. As Deku then said, "Gojo?" Then Deku got up from the floor and took the finger out of his pocket. As he said, "The old man didn't tell me what it is. Didn't tell me what this is supposed to do." As he remembered, the old man whispered something, but he heard a bit of it. "If you eat that finger, you will be granted power unimaginably to this world." As Deku said, "What the hell did he mean by that?" As he was like, what's the worst that can happen? My life is already bad. Might as well eat the finger. As he then threw the finger in the air and ate it. Yes, I am making Izuku a bit more braver to do things that he normally wouldn't do in the anime. As Deku then ate the finger, then out of nowhere marks appear around his face and then disappear, as he then started getting more headaches, as somebody whispered in his head, "Huh, a child made me come back. What an interesting day." As Deku said, "What in the world? Who's in my head?" Then the person said, "Kid, my name is Sukuna. And because of your bloodline, I can't seem to control you or take over you. So I hope we can get along." Then Deku said, And yes, Deku has the Gojo personality, meaning he's not as much as freaking out because he is thinking, "Okay, so you are what?" "I'm a cursed energy, making you a cursed being." As Deku said, "I am a cursed being from the Gojo clan." And then Sukuna said, "Yes, you are. What's so confusing about this?" First of all, cursed beings don't exist. As out of nowhere, a giant monster-like creature appeared out of nowhere. As Deku then jumped backwards and was like, "What in the world? When did I have these reflexes?" As Sukuna then said, "Do you have any other fingers on you?" As Deku said, "No, I was only given one." "Huh. So I don't think you can use any of my techniques. Let's see what's in your head, kid." As Sukuna then started searching through Izuku's mind. Yes, I'm giving Sukuna that ability. Sukuna then found Gojo's memories in Izuku. As he then says, "So, your grandfather was Satoru Gojo?" As he said, "Who in the world is Gojo?" As Sukuna then snapped, "That's Gojo, your grandfather, that annoying human." So kid, from the timeline that I'm from, your grandfather gave me a problem. I was in the body of a kid named Megumi, and I had his abilities. Even though I nullified one of his strongest abilities in the anime, yes, Infinite is really strong. You guys cannot disagree with me. He was still able to make my life a nightmare. So you have all of his abilities, just that you don't know how to use them. What year is it, kid? 2037. As the as Deku then looked at the cursed being in front of him and said, I believe it's 2037. Then Sukuna said, okay, so a long time has passed and the person that gave you my finger is still... Do you know where he's at? As Deku said, nope. As we then see Deku dodging almost every hit, every attack from the monster in front of him, as he said, this is pretty easy. Why isn't he able to touch me? As he said, because of your grandfather's ability, Infinite. He was able to dodge almost everything and he was non-touchable by cursed beings. The only way to stop it was, how about we just try this? Kid, put up one hand, put one finger up. As Deku jumped on top of a tree and put one finger up, and Sukuna then said, twist both of your fingers to the other side, and then do two fingers up, and then just start holding them together. As Deku then held both of his hands like he was holding an arrow. As a flame appeared in his hand and said, wow, what's this? As Sukuna said, one of my abilities. Aim it. As Deku then said, fine. As Deku then summoned a fire arrow and said, well, see ya. As he killed the cursed energy. The cursed monster dropped something on the floor as Deku then looked and saw, why did a cursed monster have a finger? As Sukuna said, you asked the right question. Why does a cursed monster have my finger? Eat it. As Deku said, huh? As Sukuna said, eat the finger. Then Sukuna reversed, wait a minute, wait. You ate my finger and you're not dead, and you're also not possessed by me, so you really got the lucky genetics from your grandfather. As he said, probably. As Sukuna then said, do you have any siblings? As he said, I have one. Do they look like you? As Deku then Deku nodded and Sukuna said, so you're the only one from your family who looks like your grandfather. Alright, eat the finger. As Deku said, okay. Sukuna in this one is only being nice to Deku because he can't control him. Deku is basically uncontrollable because of this Gojo clan heritage from his grandfather. We all know it's basically impossible to control somebody with knowledge of cursed energy. Yeah, as Deku then ate the finger, and black marks like Yuji or Itadori, the black marks under the eyes appear. Imagine this picture on the screen, but the black marks are under the eyes of Deku. As Deku said, so is my hair supposed to turn pink? As we see Deku back in his mindset, and he saw Sukuna was sitting on a throne of skeletons. As he said, your hair is pink and mine's not. As Sukuna said, it's not going to go pink because of your heritage, so you should be fine. So it's 2037, and I've been gone for at least, let's say that the year would be the year that the Sukuna died. Sukuna was returned back to those fingers was 2024. As Sukuna then started counting the years, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, 2029, 2030, 2020, 2031, 2020. As Sukuna said, forget it, kid, I'm not good at math right now. As Deku then said, I can see. As Sukuna then said, okay, kid, I can easily take care of you. Don't go overdoing it. You ate both of my fingers, so I can basically kill you. As Deku then said, no you can't. As Deku then said, and it's also been 13 years since you were last seen. Deku then said, okay, no, it was Sukuna, I'm sorry. Sukuna then said, okay, 13 years since I was last seen in this world. How interesting. So, who in this world do you know has curse energy? As Deku said, that was the first monster that I ever seen with cursed energy. As out of nowhere, people in black outfits, this basically the same outfit that Deku was wearing on this screen, on the picture that you're seeing, appeared out of nowhere in front of Deku as they said, "Put your hands up, kid. We don't know who you are, but you have a massive amount of curse energy." As Deku then said, I don't know what you're doing here, and I don't know what you want with me, but you need to understand, I'm not going anywhere with you guys. As Sukuna then said, Jujutsu sorcerers still exist. Maybe your grandfather's still alive. 13 years isn't enough to kill him. As Deku then said, what do you mean my grandfather's still alive? I have his memories. Yes, even though you have his memories, doesn't mean he's dead. As Deku then said, let's see. As Deku then put up one of his fingers. So basically the same technique you see on the screen from the picture is happening. Deku then said, red. As a lot of energy was being absorbed from the air around him, or the area, as he said, this technique is interesting. As he then threw it at the people, and then he snapped, and it exploded, but it didn't damage him. It just basically gave Deku enough time to zoom out of there. And yes, Deku is basically faster than him because he's part of the Gojo clan and he's related to Gojo. Which in My Hero Academia, Gojo would be faster than All Might even if he used One for All. As Deku disappeared from their view and arrived at the city, as he was sitting on top of a building. In this building, All Might was there. He had the sludge building and he was talking to Bakugo, who saved his girlfriend. As in the building, he was giving the speech to Bakugo that it was meant to be for Deku, but the speech was given to dear old Bakugo. Yay! Everybody loves giving One for All to Bakugo, right? Then Deku appeared there and saw that he landed in front of that and was saying, well, I guess it doesn't really matter. As he sat there in silence, hearing what happened, as he heard everything from... Then he heard All Might was then hurt in his ribs, and he showed Bakugo the hit. As then Deku said, my favorite hero got hurt. So, is there a technique that can heal people? As Deku told that to Sukuna, Sukuna said, I don't know. I'm a cursed being. I never thought about healing anybody. All I know is that you can you can heal your wounds faster than normal people because of the crazy amount of curse energy you have. Lucky ass kid. As Deku said, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that again? Nothing, kid. Focus on what you're doing. As Deku laughed and said, it'll be nice having a friend. I haven't had one in a while. The last friend I had was, let's just say he died. As Deku then went silent, and then he says, so, do you know anything about my grandfather? Well, he used to hide his eyes, and yeah, before I forget to tell you, kid, your eyes are called the six eyes. 6 eyes. And then he said, and then Deku asked, what do you mean 6 eyes? I don't have 6 eyes in my head. Then Sukuna said, not literally, you just have things that most Gojo clans members wouldn't have. You have everything one person would inherit. And probably ever since you unlock your curse energy, I think those people that you threw that technique to were sent by your grandfather, because he could have sent the balance of the world being shifted. As Deku said, am I really that strong? Well, you have the king of the curses in your body. You're able to use my powers no problem. You also are part of the Gojo clan. You have Limitless. You have the 6 eyes, and I don't remember what else you have, but you have too much for one kid. As Deku said, I need to start training because my body's just dodging from instinct. And then Sukuna asked, you never trained in your life and you were able to dodge that much? Trained a little bit because I had to dodge not dying to to that kid over there, pointing at Bakugo, who was getting given the speech by All Might. As he said, "What did he do?" As Sukuna asked, "What did he do?" He used his quirk. Oh yeah, in this world, I forgot to say, this world uses quirks. Curse techniques aren't really something we use. Probably me only now, and the rest of the Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerers that I'm not bothering with today. But I feel somebody is coming after me. As a certain pink-haired boy was right behind Deku, was jumping from building to building after Deku, as he saw, who is that pink-haired boy? And yes, I'm just gonna make it different where Itadori is still alive in this what if, but he doesn't have Sukuna. Sukuna was, let's just say, in the series in 2024, where Jujutsu Kaisen was still the main timeline, the main present time. Sukuna just went back to being a finger, and Itadori didn't need the finger back. As Deku then said, "Who's that?" As then Sukuna said, "Run." Then Deku said, "Huh?" But before he can do anything, Itadori made a black flash or black wave. I don't know how they call it. I apologize to all of you guys. Next part, I'll make sure to learn how to say. Then Deku saw that he was gonna launch at him, and as he did, part of the place where Deku was sitting at was destroyed. As Deku then jumped and landed right next to All Might and Bakugo. As he said, "What's up, Bakugo? I'll see you later." As Bakugo said, "Deku?" As he then looked, "Hello, Sir All Might." "I gotta run." As All Might said, "Huh?" Then Deku jumped off the building, caught himself through a rail those rails that are on the sides of the building where it looks like a balcony and it has the stairs like that. He caught himself and he landed on the street and he started running. As All Might saw that Deku was Deku had the same amount of speed as Ida when he uses his jet boosters. He's basically faster than that. He's not light speed, but he's faster than that. I'm not gonna make Deku have the speed that can challenge the speed of light. As Deku then said, "So I'm fast enough to escape the view of people, and I have reflexes that can catch me. So why is that pink guy after me?" As he said, "Don't know. You ate my finger. I'm no longer part of him, so I don't know why he's after you. Maybe like I said, it might be your grandfather's." Deku said, "My grandfather this, my grandfather that, my grandfather everything. What does he want with me?" As Deku said that to Sukuna, Sukuna said, "Stop, kid. We're literally at the edge of a bridge. What are we supposed to do here?" As Deku saw multiple cars block the bridge areas, as he said, "What is going on? Are they legally allowed to do this?" As Deku has no care in the world. He said, "Sukuna, any idea what to do?" "Why are they chasing me?" As Deku then said that to Sukuna. Sukuna said, "I got no idea, kid. Your choice of what you want to do. I can only give you this memory." As he dragged one of Gojo's memory into Deku, and Deku saw the domain expansions. As he said, "Can I create my own one, or combine them, or just make one?" As Sukuna then said, "You have an unlimited amount of curse energy because of whatever heritage you came from. I'm still jealous of you. So you're allowed to do what you want." As then Deku put two hands together, and he said, "If you Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerers don't leave me alone, this is gonna be the end of you guys." As Itadori yelled, "You're wrong, kid. You're coming with us. You're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be over there on our side." As Deku said, "I'm in nobody's side. I want to be the #1 hero, and with this power, I can achieve that." Domain expansion. As a domain expansion, the size of the whole city covered it. God's wrath. As Sukuna then said, "Really, kid? God's wrath?" Then Izuku in his mind said, "Shut up." As out of nowhere they said, as Itadori said, wait, what is he doing? As out of nowhere, a giant meteorite from the sky was falling down towards the bridge, as he said. As he then turned into Sukuna, and Sukuna said it for him. Anybody who moves from this area before that meteorite hits will be killed mercilessly. Any human, any animal, any power person with a transforming quirk or transforming power of curse energy will be killed. The panda is still alive. Yes, I am making the panda be alive. I don't remember his name. Next part, I promise to remember his name. As everybody wasn't able to move because they all saw that Sukuna was in control, as Deku went back to control and said, as he kept one finger up and said, "Not yet, not yet, not yet." As then, out of nowhere, a giant white monster, like with wings as his eyes, punched the meteorite out of nowhere, and Deku then said, "Why? That was so cool. That was also my first try. Can a guy have some fun here?" As Sukuna then said, "Kid, that's the thing that I used against your grandfather to nullify his abilities." As Deku then said, "Huh? That's the thing that defeated my grandfather?" And then Sukuna yelled, "Yeah, so you better run. He's coming at you." As Deku then said, "Fudge." As he then pointed his finger down in this domain expansion, this turned itself off as he said, "Okay, people." As he then jumped into the air and landed on the bars of the bridges, as he said, "I will see you all another time." But before we can do anything, a tall guy with white hair and a blindfold on his eyes hit him on the karate chopped him. As Deku then said, "Oh, so this is Satoru Gojo. I didn't think I would meet him like this." As he fell to sleep, as he then was knocked out, we then see Deku in his mindscape. So that was my grandfather, wasn't he? 1, he is your grandfather. 2, I don't know how that bastard's still alive. I chopped him in half, and he's still alive. He looks like. And then Sukuna said, and 3, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably being carried right now. As Sukuna then looked through Isuku's mind to see what's going on, and saw that he was being carried by Gojo. As Gojo brought him to Inko's house, and he knocked on the door. Inko knows Gojo because Hasashi is Gojo's son. As Gojo then said, "Hi, Inko. I came to tell you that I'm going to be taking my grandson with me." As Inko then said, "But why are you taking him? He hasn't unlocked." As Gojo then he forced open one of Deku's eyes and showed her, "He has the eyes. He has my abilities." And he also almost destroyed a bridge that was on top of a freaking river. As Inko then said, "Wait, is he alright?" Then Gojo said, "He's fine. I just knocked him out before he could keep on running and return here." As Deku in the mindset says, "Old man is so strong at this age." "Yes, you're second strongest compared to him." As Deku then said, "Damn, second strongest. That gotta hurt." As Sukuna started laughing and he said, "Yeah, it does gotta hurt. You're second strongest like me. I'm third because of you existing and him existing. I'm third." Then Deku started laughing at him, and Sukuna said, "Yeah, whatever, kid." Deku then kept on watching as they put Deku on the couch, and Gojo said, "You can wake up. I know you're awake." Then Deku jumped out of the couch and looked around as he said, "So you knew I was awake." So, as Deku said, "Who are you? And before you say anything, I know who you are. Gojo, greatest sorcerer of his generation and basically the strongest of the world, or basically the world's strongest right now because of Sukuna not existing. Or before he did. Now he exists because I'm here. Then Gojo say, yes, and I'm also your grandfather. As Deku said, I know. Then Inko say, wait, how do you know he's your grandfather? Deku then said, Mom, you haven't been in my life for like I'm 13. We went to the quirk doctor 4 years ago. It has been... As Deku grab this phone and let me say, give me a minute. I don't know my age. I'm 13 minus 4. It's been 9 years. As Inko said, wow, Izuku, I thought you were smarter than that. As he said, hey, Mom, give me a break. You have been ignoring me for 9 years, and I'm the smartest in my class. I'm going to you either way. As she said, I'm proud of you, Izuku. She said, as he then looked at her and with a straight face, he said, are you sure you're even proud of me? You ignored me for 9 years, like I said 3 times already, and you're acting normal. As Inko then started crying as she said, I was only working too many jobs. I was just trying to make enough money to see if you were gonna unlock the quirk or have your grandfather's abilities, just to help you get into UA. As Deku then just fell to the floor, but close to his mother, as he then opened his arm and hugged her, as he apologized to her for all the times he hated her, for all the times he just wanted to die, for all the times he just wanted to leave. As Deku looked at his grandfather and said, what do you want, Satoru Gojo? Or may I say grandfather? Well, kid, ever since Hasashi died, I have been coming here less and less to see you guys. I'm the head of the Gojo clan, and I'm the head of the Jujutsu Kaisen, the Jujutsu Sorcerer school. And I also brought my good friend, one of my students, or the teacher, Itadori. Or Yuji, you can call him. As then Deku looked at him and said, pink hair boy? Pink hair man. Or Yuji, like Sukuna said. As Sukuna appeared and said, long time don't... As Sukuna then spoke through Izuku's eyes and said, long time don't hear or see you, Itadori. So, how has life been treating you without me? As Itadori then said, life has been treating me much better, Sukuna. So, now you're with this kid. Why are you with him? As he said, well, he ate my finger, both of the fingers. Somehow, a curse energy had one of my fingers, but didn't fully ate it. And he found it and ate it. Now he has both my curse energy and the Gojo clan and his father's. So this kid has unlimited curse energy, and it's basically unfair. I can't control him or manipulate him because he has that bastard's genetics. Pointing at Gojo, as Gojo then laughed and said, yeah. Well, kid, you can put Sukuna away. As Sukuna switched places with Deku, and Deku said, so, what do you want? What do you need? Gojo then said, you're coming with me to the Jujutsu Sorcerer High School, just to train for the 10 months that you have before going to UA. As Deku said, so I'll be skipping school? No, you're gonna be going to my school for a good while, and then you're gonna go, and then I'm gonna let you go to UA. But at first, gonna need to see what you can do. I want to see if you're able to control any of your abilities correctly. So, and yes, I know you can control your abilities because I saw that you summoned a domain expansion and also summoned a meteorite, which I never had as a kid. How the heck were you able to summon that? As Deku said, easily. As he then did the same finger signs as Sukuna and said, domain expansion, malevolent kitchen. As out of nowhere, a kitchen came. As Deku said, there. We're just in a cursed in a cursed world where every time you tried anything, half of your body will be chopped and put into this pot. Probably you won't really die. You just feel the pain times, let's say, Sukuna. How much times? This is my domain, you should know. It's times 2,000. So meaning every time you get chopped by a certain movement, you'll feel the pain 2,000 times harder once once you release. Yeah, and then Deku deactivated the domain and said, "That's how my abilities work." As Itadori and Gojo looked at each other and said, "Huh? So you're basically the strongest Gojo clan member that was ever made or was ever brought to life." As Deku said, "I probably am." So this is where I'm going to be leaving it off, guys. Thank you guys for watching. This is Phantom Duos here. Well, you're not truly the strongest member of our clan because I was born and I'm still alive. Deku then said, "What do you mean by that?" "What I mean is, you're nowhere near one of the strongest just because you have this much curse energy. Most of the things you need to learn, you have to get through me, Isuku. From your grandfather." Deku looked at him and said, "Yeah, I could see we look alike, and I understand my father was your son, but why haven't I met you earlier in my life?" "Well, kid," this is Gojo speaking, "I'm taking care of a school and the head of all Jujutsu sorcerers in the world, so give me a break. And your father didn't want you and your sister to know about me and curse energy." And to say a couple of things, curse energy in this world is actually everybody can see it. There's like a certain thing. If you have a lot of curse energy like Gojo and Deku and most of the powerful special grade sorcerers in the anime that I'm bringing to this anime, your powers can be seen by everybody. So meaning Hollow Purple, as I read in the comments, somebody was trying to tell me that it's imaginary or something. I don't remember very well, but no. In this what if, all the curse techniques can be seen by normal humans if you're a special grade or at least below a special grade, not that low. I don't remember the other levels of special. I don't remember what level was below special grade, but you have to at least be one below special grade for your power to be visual by everybody. And Deku's a special grade just like his grandfather. But then we see Izumi come through the door. Come through the door holding Bakugo's hand. As Inko said, "Izumi," and "Bakugo, you're here." She said, "Also Izumi, meet your grandfather, Gojo." As Gojo then said, "Hi Izumi," as Gojo got up and went to hug his granddaughter, where she then saw Isuku look different as Deku's hair was covering his eyes as his mother asked, "Deku, are you fine?" "No, I'm not." As Sukuna started speaking, "Gojo, protect them. You know something, Inko? Or should I say, Mom, and dear younger sister, you have done nothing for me just because I was quirkless. Nothing for me over the years of me being quirkless. Nothing, never caring about me, never wondering if I was alright, never even trying to help me. All those years of getting bullied by him, pointing straight at Bakugo. And look here, you just accept him." As out of nowhere, infinity, basically infinite, I put infinity by mistake, infinite, started protecting Deku, started forming around Deku and pushing everyone away from him, not hurting them because Gojo was using his infinite to protect them from Deku's. Yeah, since Deku's infinite is not fully perfect like Gojo's can overpower his. Then Gojo said, "Well, Inko, you messed up pretty badly. The kid is letting out infinite without thinking or deciding to use it." "But what do I do to fix this problem with him, Gojo?" yelled Inko. "Well, you're his mother. You should know what you're supposed to do. And I would say give the kid a big old hug and you know the rest." As Gojo opened a door Basically, he managed to open a way through Deku's infinite to let Inko in. As Inko went into the infinite, then Gojo smiled and said, "Have fun." Talking to the kid, I believe he needs it. But then out of nowhere, Deku, who was yelling his anger and sadness, felt arms wrap around him as he heard, "I'm sorry for not being there for you, my son. I've been working too many jobs, overtime, and many things just to help you succeed in life since I really hoped you would get a quirk a little while later in your life, but since I forgot your father was also quirkless but had a quirk that was basically curse energy. I didn't remember that because of him being gone for so many years, but I hope you can forgive me now." As Deku started crying and hugged his mother back, where everything that was happening stopped, as Bakugo, who was just standing there, felt this power from Deku and was knocked out by it. Izumi was holding Bakugo as everything went on, but she wondered where her brother got this strength from or what type of power is this. "Your boyfriend is pretty weak, Izumi," said Gojo as he walked away from her and towards Deku and Inko. But she stood there in silence as she had random thoughts going through her head. When did Deku have power? As Gojo spoke, "Well, Izuku, it's time to go. For you to understand your power more." As Deku stopped hugging his mother and spoke, "I guess this is goodbye, Mom and Izumi. Also you too, Bakugo," with a bit of anger in those words towards Bakugo and Izumi. And to say this, Bakugo woke up a couple of seconds later. Well, time to get a move on, Izuku, said Yuji, as Deku followed both Gojo and Izuku towards Gojo, both Gojo and Yuji towards a jeep with guards surrounding it. Then Izuku looked back one last time before leaving for 10 months. As we skipped 10 months, All Might met with Bakugo during these 10 months to talk and train him on One For All, making him be able to use 10% of it. Which I will give Bakugo props for learning how to use 10% of One For All, since we all know he is really good at fighting and learning how to use his quirk. So yeah, he's able to use 10% of it, which wouldn't destroy his body, but boost his quirk ability and do everything else One For All did for Deku in the anime when he had One For All, when he managed to learn or control 10% of One For All. But during this time, everything was going well for everyone. But then we see Deku getting attacked by Black Whip, by Yuji's Black Whip, when we all know that attack probably hurts too much. With Deku having both of his hands tied behind his back, being forced to use Infinite to protect himself, as Gojo said, "Good, now move towards him using your ability. It won't let him touch you, as you decided to protect yourself from him." As Deku smiled and walked towards Yuji, as Yuji's attack wasn't able to reach or hurt Deku because of the attack being lower than Deku's power. But it forced Yuji to protect himself from the force of energy pushing him. As we all know, if you guys remember that part where Gojo used Infinite to randomly use all that his curse energy to basically annihilate that curse technique. I forgot the name of it, but it was with Togo. It was that part with Togo. But and then in the next part, I'll remember the name of the curse energy and I'll say it. As Gojo yelled, "That's enough, Izuku. Your body is at its peak and you endure enough training from everyone during this time with us. But it's time for you to start your hero journey tomorrow," said Gojo. As Deku nodded and left to his room, as Yuji spoke, "Well, he managed to control some abilities of his and some of Sukuna's ability as well. But for now, I believe he is ready for the missing parts of what he ate." Yuji spoke. "Yup, we will see what happens tomorrow," spoke Gojo. Then we skip to the next day. Deku was woken up by Yuji to get ready to go, As he did, he put on his blindfold like his grandfather and went to eat breakfast, to then go meet his grandfather before leaving to the UA exam. Izuku then got to where Gojo was located at. Where then Gojo spoke, Izuku, this is something I have to give you before you leave to UA. These are a few of Sukuna's fingers I have before the rest were given to each of the head sorcerers around the world. Eat them. As Deku looked at his grandfather and said, wouldn't that allow him to control me? As Sukuna then spoke, not really, because I can't control you somehow. You also have some hitting ability that doesn't allow me to control you. But as Deku then just said, okay, then Gojo said, go. But then he ate 4 fingers of Sukuna as Deku now had more power, and Sukuna now had more freedom with his abilities, but still could not take control of Deku. Well, my dear grandson, this is goodbye. Make sure to become number one in your school. As we skip for the next couple of hours, we see Deku being dropped off by a limo with the logo of the Gojo clan. As I remember, Gojo's pretty rich in the anime. A limo with the logo. As everyone at the exam saw Deku walk out of it, making people wonder if he's someone important. But here Deku wouldn't meet Uraraka like he in the anime, but would be getting stared at by 2 people who think they know him. They know who he is, and this was Izumi and Bakugo. But because of how he was dressed and looked now, they couldn't recognize him anymore. And to tell you the truth on this, Deku looks like an exact copy of the current Gojo that we have in the anime, but just a bit younger in age, just like they look the same. But then the exam started with a written one, as Deku managed to pass this part of the test with no problems, as everyone else did too. But then the scores were announced. Deku was second behind Izumi, but he didn't care, at least he managed to pass. And because of this, every teacher in the school was wondering, these are 2 students that this student named Izuku Midoriya just came here. He wasn't in a school that it was in a city, said Aizawa, and then All Might spoke, and he was also out of the city for 10 months for the training. As All Might then spoke, let's hope that it isn't the kid Bakugo was telling me about. The kid that is his girlfriend's brother that disappeared for 10 months with his grandfather. Maybe. He told me that he had white hair. As then everyone there spoke, saying, "Oh my, what are you thinking about?" As All Might said, "I don't know. Just don't worry about me." As Netsu then said, "Alright, All Might, let's keep an eye on that white-haired kid who has blindfolds for some reason, who's covering his eyes for some reason." As we then go to the fighting part of the exam, President Mike started giving his speech about the robots and the points each robot was worth, from 1 to 3 points each robot were. But then Ida still bothered President Mike by saying, "Excuse me, Sir Mike, but I don't think you should keep going if he's not even going to listen to you," pointing straight at Deku, who was just there listening to everything. But then Deku said, "I'm just listening. It's just that you think you're so high and mighty in this world just because your brother's a hero, Ida, that you interrupted President Mike just because my eyes are covered." As Ida didn't have anything to say, as he sat down and stayed quiet, where then Mike spoke about the 0 point and said, "Don't worry about that robot for now. Just fight every other one and get as much points as you can." As Deku said, I don't trust his words. I'm gonna keep an eye out for that robot. But then President Mike went back to the spectating room with the teachers and said he's pretty confident for his own sake, Principal Netsu, and he is also pretty knowledgeable. He knew that kid's brother was a hero. He was a hero, and that's all I can really tell you about him. As Netsu then looked at President Mike and said, "Okay, he knows many things that most people wouldn't know." But then we go to the start of the exam, to the start of the fighting exam. As Deku waited for everyone to start, as Mike said go, everyone rushed into the field, but Deku walked instead of running it towards the fight. As Deku was walking, everybody stared at him. Even the spectating teachers were wondering why wasn't he fighting like everyone else was doing. But then Deku then noticed there was an area full of robots that were from 2 to 3 points covered by a lot of buildings and nobody noticed. As Deku then said, okay. Deku then took one step and he appeared right over there. As all the spectating teachers said, huh, does he have a super speed quirk? As Deku then said, dismantle, swinging two of his fingers to the left, cutting all of the heads of the robots off. As Deku then said, huh, Sukuna, your abilities do work. The teachers couldn't hear Deku talking to himself, as Sukuna then appeared underneath his eyes, forming up his mouth to say, my abilities do work, huh? What do you mean? As Deku then said, nothing, don't worry, my fault. I didn't mean to say that to you, Sukuna. As Sukuna then spoke, yeah, that's what I thought, kid. Sukuna's more friendly with Deku because he knows damn well Deku's power is so much stronger than his that he can't really do anything about it. Even if he had all 15 fingers of his, Sukuna wasn't able to do anything towards him. As Deku then said, so I just destroyed 25 3-pointers and there's at least 40 2-pointers over there. Huh, let's test another ability of yours, Sukuna. I didn't get to use it on anybody but my grandfather, who somehow managed to reverse it back to me. As Sukuna then said, yeah, I remember that day when you got bullied by him. As we go back to a flashback, we see Deku just getting thrown across the facility Izuku and Gojo were training in. Gojo used his curse energy around his fist to swing his grandson across into a brick wall. As Deku landed there and said, that hurt. As Deku was used reverse curse energy to heal himself instantly. As Gojo then said, no using reverse curse techniques. As Deku then said, alright. Then we go back to present time Deku. As Deku then said, yeah, let's not talk about that. I got bullied. As Deku then said, fire. Where out of nowhere, fire formed around Deku, and Deku just made an arrow shape towards the robots and said, stand still. 1, 2, 3. As he let it go, a full arrow of fire, the same size as the 0-point robot, went straight at all of the 45 2-pointers in front of Deku, eliminating them straight away. As because of that attack being so big, everyone from across all the facilities were able to see Deku do that. As Sukuna said, too much curse energy, kid. As Deku said, you think? Sukuna started laughing and saying, oh, this is gonna be hilarious when you actually get into a fight. As Deku is you're right. I'm pretty sure I'm rusty right now because I haven't gotten to fight anybody that wasn't Yuji. Man, that guy beat me. As Sukuna then say, yeah, I look a lot like him. I'm surprised you didn't gain any looks like him. Well, then Deku said, well, I'm part of the Gojo clan. My bloodline ain't gonna let you control me. As Deku then stopped using the fire technique of Sukuna's, and he kept on using cleave. As he kept on shooting it around, he just kept on swinging his right hand left and right, cleave. As he just said once, cleave. He kept on swinging left and right his hand as he kept on cutting off the heads of every robot in front of him. As to a point, Deku was in first place. Bakugo was right behind him, and Izumi was in fourth because of her ability, her pyrokinesis of able to control fire and make fire. As Deku then said, so I shouldn't be using domain expansions here, right? As Sukuna then spoke again, no, you shouldn't. Keep that hidden until a very important event. As Deku then said, well, that's the last robot I'm gonna need. Dismantle. Swinging his fingers down as they destroy the robot. All the spectators, which were the teachers, spoke, but then Nezu said, don't say anything. This kid seems to have a fire quirk, a super speed quirk. We haven't seen anything else, but he also has an ability to just use wind to destroy these robots. As they didn't know that it was wind, but they didn't know that it was more like cursed energy that wasn't visualized for them to see. As Deku then looked up at the sky, and then looked around as he saw an area, and he said, so that's where they're at. As out of nowhere, all the teachers looked and saw that he found them. As Deku then put his hand up and waved as he kept on walking. We then hear somebody screaming for help as Deku was waiting for the 0 point to appear on top of a building. As all the teachers that were watching him saw that he just ran up a building without using the stairs. And as we see Deku sitting down on top of the building watching, then he said, this is interesting. So maybe I could actually use this ability now. Sukuna then said, do you really want to use that ability? Your grandfather told you you're probably the only sorcerer in history to be able to create as many as those. As Deku then said, yeah, I know that I'm the only sorcerer in history that could create that many techniques on his own. So yeah, I won't do anything. I'll just wait to see what happens. As the 0 point was just destroying the building while everyone was running away from it. Then all the spectating teachers said, let's see what he does now. As Netsu pressed a button and made at least 3 other 0 point appear. As Deku then heard someone scream for help, it was Uraraka and his sister on the other side with the other 0 point who was attacking her. She was stuck. Both of them were stuck under rubble. As Deku said, oh my god. Izumi and... interesting. A different girl. As Deku then said, alright. Sukuna, I guess this is time for me to use it. As Sukuna then said, oh boy. Domain expansion. God's wrath. As out of nowhere, a giant meteorite appeared in front of the 0 point. Let me fix this. As out of nowhere, the whole arena that they were in, or the facility, went dark. The sky suddenly turned into the sky suddenly went to where everything was clear and it was dark, and there were stars out, and all the planets were shown. as I don't know, everybody was looking up because it was suddenly dark. As the spectating teachers also saw that every planet was making a straight point as Deku was then seen floating in the air as he then said, "This is probably gonna let me try this." As Deku then closed a bit more of the range of the attack into pointing straight at the three 0 point robots. As Deku then said, "This is probably the first time I'm gonna use this domain and the last before I get yelled at by my grandfather." Sukuna said, "Just do it. At least you didn't use my domain." As Deku said, "Yeah, your domain would have probably killed me. Would have probably killed me by getting most of the sorcerers around the world to come towards me." As Sukuna said, "You're right." Then Deku said, "Right." As out of nowhere, three different meteorites that were the size of a building came straight down towards the robots. As everybody was watching a floating white hair boy with his fingers just like Sukuna when he summons his domain with his fingers like that, floating. As Isuku smiled and said, "Oh, I feel so bad for you, even though you're not real." As then, boom, all the robots were destroyed, and under one attack. As everybody saw that it was Deku who summoned them. As Deku then landed on the building again, and he then dismantled, destroying the rocks that both Uraraka and Izumi were under. As he said, the test is over. I gotta go." As Deku then jumped and landed on the floor without getting hurt, as he said, "This is interesting. I have a lot of reflexes, thanks to you and me being part of the Gojo clan." As Deku then said this in his head, where then Netsu said, "So he can summon meteorites?" As we see All Might's mind, this guy could be working with All For One. He just used fire, wind manipulation, super speed. He can fly somehow. As we all know, what I'm trying to say is that most of the time, the abilities I'm gonna be giving Deku are just for him to be in the sky for just like this. The ability that when I said that he was flying, he was just floating. Meanwhile, his abilities were being reset. As Deku just walked away from the exam, as the teacher said, "Well, we all know who got first place," giving both Deku hero points and the exam points, making him basically have every access. He also gained a scholarship. Yeah, the only time you can gain a scholarship is when you're freaking giving first place in hero points. As we then see Deku walking outside, everyone was looking at him. As Ida tried to talk to Deku, but Deku disappeared and appeared right at the gate. As he saw the limo with Yuji waiting for him. Yuji then spoke. "So you actually used that domain that you created?" As Deku then said, "Yeah, Grandpa knows, doesn't he?" As Yuji said, "Yeah, he does." As Deku then smiled and said, "Well, just take me to my house. I'll deal with my I'll tell grandfather that I only used it because I wasn't gonna get there in time to protect my sister and this random girl. There was 3 robots, so how was I supposed to protect them?" As Yuji then said, good point. Then Yuji drove away with Deku inside of his car, with Deku inside of the car. As Deku arrived home, he walked inside of the house. He then said hi to his mom and spoke to her and was eating food. As we then see 10 minutes later, Izumi and Bakugo arrive. As Izumi then said, Mom, I got second place on the exam, and Bakugo got third." As she then saw the same blindfolded kid with white hair. Basically, every clothing Gojo has in the anime, Deku has it. As Deku then said, "Hello, sister, I'm back." As Deku took the blindfold off, and Bakugo and her recognized it was Deku. As she then said, "Wait, so you were the one using that powerful attack in the exam?" As Deku then said, "Yeah, I don't think it was that strong. It was just something grandfather taught me with the amount of power I have." As Inko then said, "So your grandfather taught you a destructive power. No wonder your father was always warning me about him." As Deku then said, "Oh, come on, Grandpa's not that bad." As the Deku then remember all the time he got bullied by freaking Infinite Void, his grandfather's domain expansion. As he said, "Oh, forget about it. Grandfather is pretty bad." As a laughing Sukuna inside of Deku's mind started laughing, saying, "Oh, you think he's bad? Try fighting him on a different person's body." As Deku then said in his head, "Wait, you're talking about that kid, that friend of Yuji named Megami? Is he even still alive?" Sukuna then said, "Yeah, but he's one of the head sorcerers around the world with another person we shouldn't be worried about. He probably won't come after you." As Deku then say, wait, repeat, go by that again? He's gonna come after who? You? He probably might not come after you. As Deku then said, "Oh great, I'm doomed." As Sukuna say, "Not really. You're not doomed as long as you don't use my domain expansion. He won't come after you." As Deku then said, "Okay." As Deku then randomly heard this. As he then heard, "Oh wait, sorry, what happened, sister?" As Izumi then said, "So all your training was for what exactly?" As Deku then said, for this. As Deku then put up one finger and saw one red orb appear around it. You see the picture? That's exactly what he's doing. As his sister says, "So what is that supposed to do?" It's pretty much able to annihilate the entire building, but I don't really want it. It won't annihilate it if I don't allow it. As Izumi then said, "So you're that strong?" Then Deku said, "Not really. I'm just a part of a clan that is way too powerful for its own sake." As Izumi said, "Okay, understandable." As over the time, Bakugo and Izumi have learned to actually be more kind towards Deku, since a lot of freaking getting yelled at by Inko. As Inko then says, "So Izuku, you're gonna be staying with us now, right?" As Izuku then says, "Yep, grandfather doesn't want me there until something really bad happens, or I get attacked by cursed energy, which I hope it doesn't happen." Sukuna said, "I wonder if that cursed being is gonna come after us." As Deku said, "Which one?" "Oh, you'll meet him when the time comes." As Deku then said, "Okay, this is gonna be the death of me one day." Then out of nowhere, Deku heard another laughter from Sukuna. Sukuna said, "Yeah, it's your fault for eating 6 of my fingers." As Sukuna said to Deku, Deku said, "It took you that long to say 6? Then Sukuna say, hey, I'm in the mind of a freaking 14-year-old kid. I don't know what you're talking about." Deku said, "Okay, you're right on that." Then we skip a couple of weeks later. Deku got the letter from all the heroes, from basically all the teachers were in his letter, saying, "Hello, young Midoriya. I don't know why, but I'm talking like All Might. As All Might was the one speaking. Yeah. "Young Midoriya, I am All Might, the number 1 hero, and I have come to congratulate you on being the number 1 student of UA. I'm breaking records and becoming the number 1 points holder for any entrance exam before. So in this letter, I will congratulate you and give you also a scholarship with an ID to access to our school's facilities to train or anything else you want to do." So please be careful with who or what you use this ID on. But you will need to understand that this ID is only for school and other things related to your hero work. And that is all from all the heroes in UA. We would like to welcome you to your hero academia. As Deku then said, interesting. I got a VIP or scholarship access to everything in the school, and I also got money from the school. Huh. Interesting. Okay. As Deku then got out of his room, and his sister then asked, "So, did you get accepted to UA?" He then nodded and said, "Yeah, we're going back. We're going there tomorrow." Right? She nodded and said, "Yeah, we start tomorrow." As Deku then spoke, "Interesting. We start tomorrow." Then we skip to the next day. We skip to the next day. Deku was waking up and his sister was getting ready. As Deku woke up and was ready to go. When everybody was ready, Inko said goodbye to her son and daughter, and they left to the UA. Izumi and Isuku are in the same class with Bakugo, as everything was going through the anime from where everybody went in. Aizawa was laying on the floor, but Isuku was the first one to see him. As Isuku then got up from his chair, as everyone was staring at Isuku because they saw what he did in the entrance exam, and they didn't want to mess with him. As Bakugo and Ida were just pretty mad and jealous at him, but they didn't say anything. As Deku got up and walked towards Aizawa, and yes, Deku was covering his eyes, so his hair was spiky up because of the blindfold. As Deku was in front of Aizawa, he picked his whole body up, stand him up, and told him, "So you're the teacher?" As Aizawa said, "And yes, I am the teacher, and you are my student. But I want to ask you something. Why would you pick me up?" As Deku said, "Because you're on the floor, and it's not very healthy to be on the floor." As Deku then walked back to his seat and told Aizawa to start class, please. As Aizawa then said, alright. Forget about orientation, and let's go to your first test to see if you are able to even be a hero." As they all follow Aizawa, but Aizawa then said, "Okay, stop, before I forget. Go put on your training uniforms that were given to you." As Deku and everyone else went to change. Then we go to the locker room. The locker room was being shown. In the locker room, Deku was the only one getting stared at by everyone. This was when Deku was just changing. He was getting stared at by everybody, as everybody who was there was looking at Deku. As Denki went up to Deku and asked, "Bro, what did they train you on during your 10 months of before coming here?" As Deku then said, nothing really. I'm just physically trained by my grandfather." As then we see then one of Denki's friends looked at Deku and said, "But who exactly is your grandfather?" Say, Kirishima. This was Kirishima. As Kirishima said that to Deku. As Deku then spoke, "My grandfather is someone very important. As you guys can see, I came in a pretty fancy ride during the exam. That's what you guys really have to know." As then Tokoyami looked at Deku but didn't say anything. As Deku then walked out of the room, but before he can walk out, he noticed Mineta peeking through a hole. As he then made a red orb appear in his finger and said, "This is gonna be funny." As he then threw the red orb towards Mineta, making an explosion happen in his area and sending him flying. As Deku then appeared out of the hole and then he yelled, "Ladies, if you can hear me on the other side, make sure to grab something to close this hole because a certain bubblehead boy is peeking through it." So yeah, see ya. As Deku then dismantle, cutting the hole, making it close. as everybody looked at Deku and they said, "What in the world are you?" Uh, then Deku said, "I am no one you should worry about. I'm not a very important character. I'm just here to begin my hero journey and get along with everybody here. Goodbye." Where Deku left the room, making everyone whisper among one another because of what he did. But on the other side of the changing room, where the girls are at, Uraraku started talking with the girls after Deku closed the hole and knocked Mineta out. As she asked, "Does anyone have information on the boy who spoke through the hole before closing it?" But no one had answers for a couple of minutes. But then Momo said, "I know a little bit on him. What do you need to know?" Uraraka then said, "Why does he wear a blindfold and what are his powers?" As everyone looked and listened to Momo, as she said, "Izuku Gojo, sister Izumi Midoriya." As everyone looked at Izumi, who didn't talk in a while. "Yes, Izuku Midoriya is my brother, but he didn't tell me anything about his powers. I'm just listening to learn more about him since he disappeared for 10 months with my grandfather." As Momo asked, "When did he come back to town?" He came back a day before the exam to get into the school," said Izumi. But then Momo said, "His powers are not known to anyone, not even the school. So that's why he got a VIP ID." Where everyone finished getting ready and left outside. As everyone who was there already saw them and said, "Hurry up," as Aizawa was waiting there for everyone. As he said, "Good, everyone is ready and is here." As he threw a ball towards Bakugo and said, "Here, throw it with your quirk, then throw it without your quirk." Bakugo got the same score like in the anime. So as Uraraka, so as Ida, so as Tenya, and so as everybody else. But then Deku came as Aizawa moved to the side with everyone else. "Use all your power. I better not see you holding back," yelled Aizawa as everyone looked at him confused but watched where Deku then randomly kept on smiling as he said, "Fine," as a giant orb of energy started forming around the ball. As a high amount of cursed energy went into the ball. Where Deku then threw the ball with all his strength, where a giant crater formed around him after letting the ball out of his hands. As Mr. Aizawa looked at Deku, repeating the numbers on the monitor, 300, 400, 700, infinite. Deku and Ochako are tied right now for first place, as Deku suddenly dodged something coming at him and appearing behind the person who did it, thanks to his infinite ability he inherited from his family. Where Bakugo, who threw an explosion towards Deku, saw he wasn't there and started yelling, someone like you shouldn't be able to make it." But then Mr. Aizawa spoke, "Enough, Bakugo. You're close to getting out of the school and failing my classes because of this." Where Bakugo, who was yelling at Deku, stopped, and as we then see everyone who was hyped for the test. But then Mr. Aizawa saw this and then said the most heartbreaking news to everybody. "Whoever comes last will be removed from the school and will fail the school year." Where everyone then got a shocked expression, but then managed to make a focused face to then lock in to the point where they won't fail. Where we then skip all the tests to the final part, as Aizawa admitted nobody was going to get removed or fail the class. As Aizawa said, As Aizawa asked Izuku, "Who trained you?" "What do you mean, Mr. Aizawa?" "What made you this gifted? You broke a lot of school records that were held by All Might." As Deku spoke, "I trained half of my life, so I don't know." And yes, Deku has the blindfold and that's really all. He hasn't taken it off the entire time, as Izumi was next to Bakugo wondering what exactly did her grandfather do to her brother. He doesn't look the same, he doesn't act the same, he's more, as she wants to say, cocky. Um, Okay, good to know. But Izuku Midoriya is first in everything. As everyone stared at Deku as he laughed and said, I told you all are just weak, even though you all were blessed with quirks. But then everyone looked at Deku with a confused look and said, what do you mean we were all blessed with quirks? Oh, I forgot to say. I'm quirkless. Have fun being weaker than the quirkless kid. Where everyone was super annoyed but couldn't say anything, where he proved it by beating records that haven't been touched by anyone in years, not even one of the big threes. As Deku was told with everyone to leave and get ready for tomorrow's class. But when Deku heard this, he used all his speed to move so fast that he appeared right at the exit of the school to leave home. As everyone looked at the blur which was Deku, and then looked at Mr. Aizawa and spoke. Are we really going to think he's quirkless? No, but what can I do? There is there is no information on what the kid's powers are. Couple of hours later, we see a meeting happening in UA where Nezu stared at all the teachers and said, ladies and gentlemen, I have brought you all here today to speak about this new kid named Izuku Midoriya, whose abilities and background are really unknown. All Might then said, yes, the kids from Class 1A has shown different types of powers, like one certain villain, unlike a lot of other students. But when All Might said that, Aizawa heard this but didn't say anything about it. Also showing control over all of them, which can rival the big three of the school. As a lot of teachers saw a student that strong has to be kept under watch, but Mr. Aizawa had other ideas. As they got a smile which creeped out every teacher and he said, how about we make a deal? As everyone said, as Nesu said for the teachers, we're listening. As Aizawa then said, we wait until the sports festival to decide if we want to keep an eye on this kid. If he shows that he's doing anything villainous, we we kick him out of the. We keep an eye on him for a while, and if that theory proves right, we kick him out of the school and we send him straight to prison, or we follow him to find whoever you're looking for. Oh my! As that as all the teachers started speaking to one another, and then Nesu, the principal, made the final choice. All right, Mr. Aizawa, you win. We'll go with your deal. But this is my twist to the deal. If he wins the sport festival, nobody here can have him under their on cannot have them under their agencies. As all the teachers say, what? Why can he not be under my agency? As Nesu then said, grabbing a cup of water, because a certain somebody who is an old friend of mine and who I owe my life to told me I cannot do that, because if his grandson is under the agency of a hero, they'll probably just use his powers to the point where he won't be of any good to the world. As everyone looked at Nesu and said, so do you mind telling us who this friend is? As Deku then said, no, as Nesu said, this is the secret of all the heroes. We all have our own problems and our own backgrounds. We shouldn't be telling everything, right? As Nesu then got up from his chair and left, all the teachers were left shocked. The next day, would just be a regular normal class day where everybody would basically just be fighting with one another, thinking, what exactly is this? Well, not all the teachers, but everybody, the students, will be fighting with one another until Aizawa came in speaking, saying, well, alright, everybody shut up and listen. Tomorrow you're gonna be training with All Might, the number one hero. As Deku sighed and said, oh my god, I should have stayed home. As everybody else were so hype about it, but Deku wasn't. But then after a while of talking, everybody just kept on talking about what's gonna happen tomorrow. Is everybody gonna be hyping this? Everybody's gonna be everybody's just gonna be talking and talking and talking until Aizawa said, "All right, everybody, shut up and get out of my class." But then this would be the end of the school day, where Aizawa would kick everybody out. So then we go to the next day, where Izuku would go into school earlier than normally, as his mom let him go early. She was gonna tell him to stay home, but she couldn't stop him. As Deku arrived at UA, used the VIP access that he has, and somehow, someway, the door of UA turned into a portal to another place, which led him to basically his grandfather's territory, as he said. Alright, why am I back here? As Gojo then said, well, you are basically 1 hour early to school, so I decided to I pulled a couple of strings with an old buddy of mine in your school and got him to let me take you out of the class. As Deku then says, so you really just had it to do that for your own benefit, right? As Gojo then smiled and said, yep. Now I'll give your grandfather a hug. As Deku said, oh god, come here. As Deku gave his grandfather a hug, and then Gojo said, hollow purple. As Deku's eyes went wide open, and he then turned on infinite as fast as he could. And if you're wondering, why does Deku have infinite? Why does Deku have infinite off? And this is my answer. Infinite would be off for Deku because, first of all, he trusts his grandfather. And third of all, it's an old man. What is he gonna do? Yes, Satoru Gojo is an old man. He's really not gonna do anything to dear old Deku. But then Deku dodged it and said, what the hell, old man? What is that for? As Deku stared at his grandfather said, ah, so you were listening to me. As the moments, every time that he paused, it would just be him taking a sip of his coffee. Where Deku then stared at his grandfather and said, what was the point of it? Well, then Gojo said, well, that test was to see if you actually listened to me, and you actually did. Well, for now that you actually managed to understand that keeping infinite is the best thing you can do, so you don't have to pull off a dumb move that I did a while ago. And the dumb move that I'm talking about is him getting stopped by freaking Toji. So then we basically go to where the hour passes. Gojo sends Izuku back to class, and everybody sees Izuku pop from the door, which was already open, but the door opened as a portal. It was just glowing. It was glowing and lotuses. As Deku popped out of nowhere in lotuses without his blindfold, as every girl stared at him, staring into his eyes, as Deku said, oh Lord have mercy, don't tell me this is gonna happen. As Aizawa said, alright Izuku, what happened to your blindfold? As Izuku said, my grandfather took it from me. As Izumi got up from the chair and said, wait, you went to grandfather's house and he lives far away from me? As Izuku said, grandfather has his ways to drag me out of places. As Bakugo got up and said, you damn nerd, don't disrespect your family. That is Izuku said, I didn't disrespect anybody. Sit down. As Izuku then swiped his index finger and his pointer finger down, making Bakugo sit down forcefully. As Izuku then said, yeah, you never knew I had that ability, right? As Aizawa then said, alright, today I'm going to be giving you your hero costumes. And then Deku said, what do you mean hero costumes? As everybody stared at him with the shocked look and said, wait, as Aizawa then said in a tired voice, you didn't know we needed hero costumes. We all have hero costumes, right? As Deku looked at Aizawa and looked him up and down and said, you don't even look like you wear a hero costume. Let me guess. The goggles don't count? Don't even say they do. As Deku said that to Aizawa, as Aizawa said, good point. Then Deku said, alright, give me a minute. As Deku then looked up, his eyes started glowing blue, and and the portal opened again as he went back in there and grabbed some of his grandfather's clothing, which now he looks like the same character from the picture that you see on the screen. As Deku then said, alright, I'm back. This is my hero costume. As everybody said, really? As Deku said, yes, I'm not that fancy. Then Deku went to his chair and let Aizawa continue. As Aizawa that was about to talk, but then All Might came in and say, I am here. Which then All Might came in saying, well, hello, Class 1A. I am going to be your teacher for today, separating you all into separate teams of 2 and facing each other in an indoor battle trial. As Deku said, I actually get to test my one-on-one combat with somebody. As yes, the same fights will be set for everybody. I'm not changing any fights. Every fight from the anime will be the same. Just that the power difference with this Deku, the anime Deku, will be a lot better. Then All Might said, well, everybody looks sad. Mr. Aizawa gave you your costumes. Where is dear Mr. Aizawa? As everybody pointed towards the floor of his desk as All Might saw him laying down as he said, alright, follow me to the waiting room of the trial. As the battle would be Isuka Midoriya, Ochako Uraraka, Katsuki Bakugo, and Tenya Ida, I believe. Class 1A. So basically the battle will be more solitary. So we go through some simple battles at first. The battles will be the same, but I'm gonna just add a couple of different ones. Give me a quick minute. So yeah, the first battle would be the same as in the anime. I believe it was let me change it. It'll be Fireboy. I don't know why I call him Fireboy. So it would be Shoto, Denki, Kirishima, and then Tokiyami against Kirishima and Tokiyami will be in the same team. Todoroki will be with Denki, and the battle will continue like that. So the battle will be the same. The hero team will be Kirishima and Tokiyami, and then the villains will be Todoroki and Denki. The battle between Todoroki and Denki would go more easier because Todoroki has a bit more confidence in his powers in this series, since Isuku has came into this world, making him the unshifted balance of this world. As yes, Todoroki ended the fight with Kirishima and Tokiyami really fast, since they didn't really know what to do. Then it was Zero and Momo versus, let me see, Mineta and I forgot, Atsui? Yeah, Atsui. Mineta and Atsui. That battle, you could already see who wins. Momo and Zero, because they decided to use Zero's toilet paper as a trap. So laughing so hard that I'm using toilet paper to actual trap. As All Might then announced the MVP for those two different fights. MVP for the first fight will be Todoroki for ending the fight as fast as he can to save the building. Second MVP will be Momo for using her brains to make a strategy or a tactic to manage to get rid of the villains without making any mistakes or any damage to happen. As the last battle would be Deku, Uraraka, Bakugo, and Ida. As Ida will be told by Bakugo, get the hell to protecting the damn bomb. I'll go fight that damn nerd. As Izumi's fight was gonna be happening was gonna be happening right after her brother. You know what? Let me go to her fight. Her fight would go simpler for her since she has pyrokinesis. She can summon both fire and manipulate fire, which would basically mean Todoroki ain't got nothing on her. As Todoroki would be saying, "Oh great, I'm screwed if I fight her." In his head, not he will not say it out loud. He still has that same cold-hearted look as always. As Izumi's fight would be ended quick and easy, since the last couple of people that she could fight were basically Invisible Girl. I forgot her name, but give me a quick minute. I believe her name was just is the purple alien girl. I forgot her name. Oh yeah, Minna. It was Invisible Girl and Minna versus Izumi and Ojiro, which Izumi managed to safely get rid of both Minna and Invisible Girl. As Deku said, wow, she managed to get a lot better at using her quirk. As Deku was then called up with his teammate to get ready to fight. As everything went to the anime for a bit of the part, like I said, Bakugo still commanded Ida to stay with the bomb. Deku told Uraraka to go ahead because he knows Bakugo's gonna come after him. As Deku kept on walking and said, "Huh, I'm surprised he actually decided to come after me instead of waiting over there for me. Well, at least it gives her a chance to reach the bomb." As All Might heard what Deku was saying, as he then said, "What is this kid?" In his head, he was saying, "What is this kid planning?" Not worrying about Bakugo because that's his successor. He knows he's gonna win. Yeah, I'm the creator. I pick who wins. So then Bakugo and Deku meet. As Deku then said, "Oh, if it isn't the angry Pomeranian, how may I help you?" And yes, if you've seen another certain Waterford who says that a lot, you know who I'm talking about. As Bakugo then said, "I'm not a Pomeranian, you quirkless bastard. You're going to fail here and now." As Deku then said, "Oh, why don't you try? Let me go put my blindfold on." As he pulled the blindfold out of his pocket and put it on. "I can't even see you, so have fun trying." As Deku got Bakugo so mad that Bakugo activated 1 for all 5%. Yes, I'm going to give Bakugo 5% of 1 for all. I don't want to make him so OP. I know he has battle IQ. I know he has battle experience. I know he has control over his quirk, but do I need to do that right now? No. As Deku then said, "Ooh, you're throwing lightning around. That's interesting." Then Deku saw Bakugo's explosions were getting bigger. As he said, "Huh, that's new." As Deku then dodged a massive explosion that was coming out of Bakugo's gauntlets. As Deku said, "Oh God." As Deku then suddenly saw that the explosion destroyed half of the building on the lower levels that they were in. As Deku said, "Ooh, that's interesting." As Deku then dodged again and saw that it was a punch coming from Bakugo, who literally floated towards him by spamming explosions. As Deku then said, "Oh, hello there." As Deku then turned around mid-dodging and kicked Bakugo up through the stairs, up through the building, making him crash through at least 4 different floors before landing. They were on the 5th floor before landing 4 different floors. Let me see. They were on the 2nd floor. So there's 10 floors in the building. I'm about to say. He basically landed on the 5th floor. He was still a couple of floors below the freaking bomb. So Ida and Uraraka couldn't really feel anything. They only saw the building shake, but they didn't worry. As Deku said, "Ooh, home run! That gotta hurt." As Bakugo got out from the ceiling of the hole and landed. As he then said, "Come fight me like a man, you damn quirkless freak." As Deku said, "Alright." As Deku jumped up into the air, then said, Ooh, this is gonna be my favorite. As he said, black whip, hold in the middle of the air with pockets and with his hands in his pockets. As he said, this is a certain pink hair's favorite technique. As we then hear Sukuna say, "You actual bastard! You actually managed to use his ability." As Deku in his mind said, "Yeah, tell Itadori, thank you for somehow letting you copy his ability." As Deku then said, as Deku said that to Sukuna said, "Huh, this kid is interesting." As Deku managed to summon a black whip while floating up to Bakugo and hit him straight in the stomach. And we all know how much those black whip hurt. As Deku then grabbed Bakugo before he was sent flying again by the hair and slammed him on the floor, sending him back down to the second floor. As Deku said, "Ooh, I should go play golf." That was interesting. As Suguna said, "You might want to save that kid before he hits one more floor." As Deku said, "Alright, let me go down." As he jumped and kept on falling and falling and falling and falling until he caught Bakugo and said, "Can I use him as a landing?" As he then saw a camera and looked up at him, as he then said, "Hey, All Might, is this the strongest kid you have for your certain ability?" As All Might's eyes widened in his head, he then said, "How does he know about all one for all? And how does he know I chose him?" As Deku then grabbed Bakugo, put him on his shoulders, landed without destroying the last floor that was still stable, and then jumped back up again. As he managed to instantly land on the seventh floor that they were in, as he said, "So I'm in the seventh floor, eighth, ninth. I'm only 3 floors below her. Let me see something." Sukuna, as he was in his head, and Sukuna said, "Yeah, what happened? And which area of the floor do you think they're in? Left or right?" As Sukuna said, "My greatest guess would be left." As Deku said, "Alright, let me go right then so I can somehow jump scare them." As Deku jumped, pushing through all the buildings. As All Might then said, "That kid, this is All Might in his head. My own successor did so much damage. He destroyed the building, and I could also blame that kid. He also destroyed the building by kicking my successor through all those floors." As All Might just kept quiet the entire time, but just in his head he was repeating those words. As we see Deku still bursting through all the floors, but when he managed to burst through the last floor, he then instantly disappeared before bursting through it. As everyone was like, "Wait, what happened to him? All Might, do you see?" As All Might said, "What the hell is his ability? He first summoned a large amount of black power on his fist. Then he showed a great amount of super strength. And now he's showing speed." As Deku suddenly appeared right behind Ida, and he said, "Hey, buddy, here." As Ida turned around and caught Bakugo. As he said, "He might be unconscious for 4 hours, but with the help of what's her name? Medic lady, healer lady. I don't know her name very well. Never had the need to go towards her. Never got hurt. Look at me. He got hurt, and I never did, and I never really fought him. He gave up on his own." As Deku then said that to freaking Ida. As Ida then said, "You shouldn't be doing that to your own teammate." As Deku said, "He's not my teammate, and you also lost." "Oh, hi, Odoraka. Took you a while." As Deku smiled and grabbed the bomb and started walking towards her. "We win." As Ida's jaw then dropped. As everyone was like, as everyone on the standby then suddenly said, "So who is gonna explain to us how does that count?" As Deku then suddenly appeared there with him holding Uraraka's shoulder to teleport her. As he said, "Huh? What doesn't count?" As everybody jumped and said, "How are you here already?" As Deku said, I don't know, but you might want to check these two out." As Deku had Ida, who was fine, and Bakugo, who was literally close knocked out. All Might have said, take him to recovery, girl, quick." As Kurishima did it and left. But then All Might looked at Deku and said, "So, young Midoriya." Yes, but All Might will still call him young Midoriya even though he's not his successor. As Deku then said, "Yes, great number one hero. What do you want from a quirkless kid like me?" As All Might then said, "You're not quirkless. You have too many abilities to be." As Deku said, "Ah, but you see, these abilities," as he then summoned Reversal Red, "are just imaginary." As he Reversal Red then disappeared, but as Deku smiled while saying that, and then put his blindfold back on. Half of the girls were literally drooling while looking at him. When Deku went to a corner of the spectating area and sit down. As the MVPs of every fight were being announced, as the fights continued, because there was two groups of each, and there's a lot of students in UA. Everything went to the anime after that fight. As we then see a view of Izumi walking towards Recovery Girl's room to go check on her boyfriend. As before going into Recovery Girl, he heard Recovery Girl having a talk with All Might and Aizawa. As she said, "Well, Mr. Aizawa, I would like to ask you something. Who is that kid who is the kid who did this damage to him, to this kid over here?" As Aizawa said, "His name is Izuku Midoriya. He is a first year. His powers are unknown, his abilities are unknown, his capabilities are more unknown, because we don't know how much control he has over this. The only things we know is that what his mother and sister gave us. He has been gone for 10 months. And all we know is that he trained for half of his life to be physically and mentally prepared for anything. And the 10 months that he disappeared, he was with his grandfather." As Recovery Girl asks, "Does the kid have white hair by any mean?" As Recovery Girl stared up All Might, and as I was waiting for an answer, as Aizawa said, "Yes, the kid does have white hair." "Does he wear a blindfold?" As Recovery Girl waited for another answer, All Might and Aizawa looked at each other, shocked, and said, "Yes, he does." "Do you know who his grandfather is?" As Recovery Girl then suddenly went quiet and said, "Oh God, he's back." "But isn't he supposed to be dead?" As Aizawa and All Might said, "Recovery Girl, tell us who is supposed to be dead." As she then stared at them and said, "He might be the grandson of the strongest person known to the history. Well, the one that took the title of the strongest person known to history." As All Might said, "And who is he?" "Satoru Gojo, one of the strongest member of the Gojo clan, and I think that grandson of his is basically right now the strongest out of the strongest in his family, because he's mixed with two different families, but didn't inherit a quirk. He inherited all of his grandfather's abilities and a bonus energy, because he is also supposed to have a quirk, but he doesn't have it somehow, as I see from the damage he did to the kid over here. This looks like curse energy damage." As Aizawa said, "So that's what he used." I have a question. Does curse energy sometimes have different colors depending on what you do? As Recovery Girl, who has the knowledge of this, said yes. It sometimes would be the color of the aura of the owner, or if they use certain abilities, they would just be different things. Is there any information on this Gray Satoru Gojo? As Gojo, who is now really old and has information on everybody, suddenly appeared behind them and said, why do you need information on me? As out of nowhere, both All Might and Aizawa kneel down. As they say, so what exactly do you want with me and my grandson? As Recovery Girl stared and said, so you are alive, old fart. As Deku said, no, as Gojo said, yeah, so what exactly makes you call me an old fart? I'm still as young. I'm only 65. I changed the age of Gojo, so right now I made him at least 65. As Recovery Girl says, I'm younger than you. I'm 56. As Recovery Girl and Gojo were having an argument on who's younger. As Omen said, can you please unbind us from whatever you have us? Gojo then said, so first, what do you want? As Aizawa spoke, we just want information on the kid's powers. He seems like he could be a threat to our school. As Aizawa stared at Gojo, and Gojo then said, a threat to your school. If I wasn't a threat to history, why would he be a threat to your school? As Recovery Girl, just unbind them, Gojo. As he then stared at her and said, for an old friend, fine. As Deku was then out of nowhere brought from a portal by Gojo. As Gojo then said, here's my grandson, you can ask him anything. As Deku then said, wait, how did I was in my room laying down a couple of minutes ago. Why am I here? As Gojo then said, because I decided to drag you out of your room. But then Deku looked and saw his grandfather, his teachers, and Recovery Girl. He said, hello, lady. She said, hello, child. As Deku then said, what do they need to know about me? Tell them what we were doing for the 10 months. Oh, I was training to control this guy. As Deku's hair suddenly spiked up, the marking of Sukuna started appearing. And it went a bit darker because of the mix of pink that I want to say. A mix of pink and white, so it went darker. Sukuna then spoke, hello there. As then he went back and Deku's hair fell back down. As they both said, wait a minute, what was that? As Deku said, that was Sukuna, the king of curses. Or let me make it more sense for you guys. He is the strongest being right after this guy behind you guys. As this made All Might look at Gojo and says, so as All Might asked, sir, if you may answer, is that Sukuna really stronger than the great Satoru Gojo? As Gojo said, no, he's behind me, that's what he said. As Deku nodded. But what do you want to know, Mr. Aizawa? As Deku snapped. And the chains the freaking power that was holding Mr. Aizawa and All Might down broke. As they said, what exactly? As Aizawa was stretching his body, as he said in a lazy tone, do you mind telling me what exactly are you and how strong are you? As Deku said, I am the strongest sorcerer of today. He is the strongest sorcerer of history. Meaning I'm the strongest hero of today. As All Might then says, so you're stronger than me. As Deku then nodded. Yeah, basically I could take you out without having to use any of his abilities or any of the other guy's abilities. Or any of my own ones that I created. As Gojo looked at his grandson and smacked him on the head and said, did you create another pair of abilities? As Deku said, I didn't mean to, I was bored. I told you not to create more abilities, but then Deku spoke. Give me a break. This ability that I have is just for fun. It's not like I would just say, domain expansion. I'm not doing the hand sign, so you cannot kill me. As Gojo nodded, alright, you're fine. I cannot say domain expansion. Domain expansion. I forgot what it was called. All my Aizawa, Gojo, and the Recovery Girl all fell down on their back, saying, "So you created something and you forgot what it was called?" As Deku said, "It's a mix of Sukuna's fire ability. I can't just remember what it was called." As Sukuna in Deku's head was just laughing so hard as Oma then says, "So you're basically unstoppable?" Then Deku said, "No, I am the unstoppable foe." As both Gojo then smacked him on the head again, saying, "That makes no sense." As Deku then said, alright, let me make it make sense. I am the unstoppable force of this world. He is more he is more balanced. I am the unbalanced force since I basically shifted the world's balance by living in this place and being born. My abilities weren't unlocked until I gained this guy, making Sukuna appear and then making him disappear. As Aizawa then looked and said, So because of him, you came to be." As Deku then nodded and said, "Yes. He came to be because of me." So Sukuna said, "Yes, he came to be because of me." But then we continue. Deku then looked at everyone in there and said, "Can I go back home, grandfather?" As his grandfather said, "Yeah." As Gojo opened a portal, kicked his own grandson into the portal and said, "See ya," and closed it. As Deku then said, "This guy." And then we see Deku home in his bed once again. As Deku then said, "Let me continue. Let me continue coming up with more domain expansions in my head." As he said, as we see Deku in his mindscape with Sukuna. Domain expansion. Hell's fire. Demonic solar flare. As out of nowhere, a sun appeared and Deku was standing on top of it. And then the rays of the sun would then turn into a solar flare that could be shot. Every time Deku pointed at something, it would instantly shoot a flare of fire towards them, making Sukuna's fire arrows look like child's play to these abilities, because because Deku can instantly reform them, reshape them into anything he wants to attack the enemy he points at. As Deku then said, "This ability is going to be useful." The water starts right after Deku finished making his new domain. This is a brand new day after Deku created the domain, where we see Deku sitting alone at the back of the class, watching everyone as Bakugo and Izumi were talking to each other. Where we see behind Deku's eye blind, where he looks kind of sad, but no one would be able to tell because it's hidden behind his mask. But then everyone went quiet as soon as Aizawa came in. But then Aizawa started talking. "Alright everyone, today you're going to be training outside of the school today." Where someone then yelled, where are we going to take the exam?" I was going to get there, staring daggers at the kid who went quiet. "You're going to be going to the USJ training area." As everyone started hyping up, as Aizawa said, "Go put on your hero costume, suit up, and meet me outside." But then we skip a couple of minutes later, where we see everyone in a bus arriving to the USJ. As Aizawa said, "I will also be teaching with 13, one of the top ranked heroes." But then 13 came out and introduced herself, talking about how some quirks are good and bad for the world, but can be trained to be great. As everyone, after hearing that speech, all of the students followed 13 and Asawa into the training area. And yes, this is after like 20 to 30 minutes they were arriving. This is the speech they heard. as everyone was told they were going to be training in different places to see how well they would do under these types of problems. But then out of nowhere, a portal opened up in the middle of the USJ, where more than 200 different groups of villains were on the area, where a man with a hand covering his face and a purple man came out of the portal. The guy with the hand on his face started talking. "Oh my, we have come to kill you. Attack everyone." Where out of nowhere, all the villains rushed to the group as Aizawa and 13 told everyone to get out of the building. But before they could, Kitagari stopped them, took everyone to different locations of the USJ, making everyone be shocked of how many villains were in each spot. But Deku kept on looking at the portal that has not closed behind Shigaraki as out of nowhere a monster came out of the portal, with Shigaraki saying, "Nomu, get rid of those heroes and kill the students. That'll make All Might come out." After saying that, Aizawa looked and saw Ida was still with him in 13 and 13 as he started yelling for Ida to move out of the building and go get help as he nodded and used his speed to get out of there, where he was fast enough to outrun Kurtagari's portal, where he was somehow able to do it just in time before Kurtagari was able to get him, as Aizawa was now fighting with the normal, but was getting badly beaten by the normal, as Deku finally stopped being in shock after just witnessing the monster's powers, sensing something weird, as he finally yelled, "Domain expansion, infinite void," as everyone in the USJ saw the whole world turn dark, or the whole area, as Deku suddenly started running faster than the eyes of everyone in the dark world and Deku's domain were able to see. As Aizawa and every villain in the areas that were attacking his classmates disappeared, as everyone saw a white-haired man sitting on a pile of bodies laughing at Shigaraki and Kurogari. Deku starting to laugh at the remaining villains as he said, "If you want to try to keep fighting me, then it's not going to end well for you." Where the domain started to vanish as Shigaraki saw 100 of the villains were standing as he yelled for the normal to attack. Where Deku was standing there for a few seconds, the normal was in front of Deku after the few seconds of Deku just standing there. But Aizawa tried to stop the normal, but Deku stopped him as the normal landed a punch towards Deku's location as smoke gathered around them, but nothing could be seen. Where out of nowhere, everyone saw the normal go flying as Deku was bleeding from his lips as he said, "Wow, so you have curse energy as well, how funny." Where the blood suddenly started to disappear and healed. Deku then saw the hole Deku created on the normal when he punched it was healing, where the normal suddenly decided to go full speed, not giving Deku a chance, as Deku just stared at the normal. But the six eyes weren't able to tell him much. Just that the normal had cursed energy and many different quirks, as Deku said. These eyes are truly sometimes really useless and useful at the same time. Where Deku out of nowhere where Deku out of the couple of seconds he had to think of something to do while fighting the normal, decided to just jump in the air, making a distraction for the normal, as the normal out of nowhere went straight into a wall of the USJ, as everyone and as every student, every teacher, sorry, I said every teacher. Basically, Aizawa and 13 were moved out of nowhere by Deku, who just did another version of his domain, canceling the one that he had, dragging every student and everybody who's not evil into that domain, basically pushing them out of the way of any impact or any damage. As everyone was wondering why they weren't able to move. As when Aizawa tried to cancel it, he wasn't able to do it, as he remembered this kid has weird abilities. As Deku then out of nowhere looked as he looked at his classmates and his teacher and said, well, at least they're safe. as he canceled the domain. But it wasn't truly canceled. Deku's curse energy was so infinite, not as infinite, but it was a high amount. Since he had a high amount of curse energy, he was able to maintain that domain while being able to use another one. As Sukuna and Deku's head started talking and saying, well, you activated one domain, so you have at least two other ones that you're able to use. What are you planning on doing, kid? As Deku then out of nowhere started thinking, let's see. As Deku then appeared in an instant right in front of the Nomu, who was trying to get his hand out of the wall as he said, you seem pretty strong but also pretty weak at the same time. Let me try this. As he pointed it two fingers at the Nomu's chest, then flicking his hand up like a gun. As out of nowhere, the Nomu was sent flying onto another building of the areas in the USJ. As everyone in the bubble that Deku created to protect them was staring at him and saying, wait, Aizawa, did you know he was this strong? As Aizawa then said, don't look at me. I'm tired. I don't know what you're trying to ask me. I got nothing to tell you guys. That information is secret and I can't really say anything. As Aizawa was trying so hard not to tell the students information about Deku, so he just kept on making up excuses. As Deku then looked at the normal and kept on trying to figure out where all the other villains had, as he knows he got rid of half of those villains. As out of nowhere, all the villains were surrounding the noble, and then he saw Shigaraki and Kurogiri there next to the normal, making a portal to get him out of there. As they saw that the normal couldn't regenerate he couldn't regenerate his left arm. So when Deku did the flick motion of a gun towards the Nomu's chest, his whole left side got all the impact of the force of the energy Deku put in those two fingers, disintegrating half of his left side, leaving him with just an arm and half of his brain. But since he has a regeneration quirk and curse energy, he was able to get his body back. As Deku then looked and saw, this is interesting. They're giving him time to regenerate or beat me, but they're also waiting for something. As Deku then told Sukuna, let me just borrow your power a little bit long, as he decided to activate Sukuna's power, as he had the curse marks around his face and his hair spiked up, as he then instantly appeared in front of Shigaraki and said, so tell me, what exactly are you looking for and what are you doing here? As Deku then waited for the answers, as Shigaraki jumped back with Kurogiri as all the villains were surrounding Deku, as then Sukuna's marking disappeared. As Sukuna said, you got this now, kid. As Deku then said mentally, alright, I hate you so much. As then Shigaraki spoke, well, truthfully, kid, how are you so strong? This isn't fair. As Deku then said, I don't have to answer you that until you answer what exactly do you want from me and what are you doing here? As Shigaraki then said, being the man baby that he is in the anime, said, we're here to kill All Might once and for all. That monster over there was created to kill All Might. As Deku said, created to kill All Might, and he couldn't even fight me. How useless of a group are you guys? As Deku then appeared right in front of the normal, grabbed them by the head, by the brain area, and started swinging him around like a ragdoll. As Deku said, this is all you guys have? How interesting. This is boring. And yes, the power scaling that I'm using for Gojo's powers and the MHA universe is just to make Deku be a bit more be more powerful than the #1 hero, but also just in my opinion, I think curse energy is more stronger than the powers in MHA, so Deku should be stronger than half of all the quirks in the world. Yes, even New Order or Order, I believe, is called. Yeah, I believe Curse Energy is stronger than that. But let me continue. As Deku kept on swinging him as a ragdoll, he said, "If this is meant to kill All Might, then then All Might is not as strong as he thinks he truly, as strong as you guys think he truly is." As Deku then
grabbed the normal's only arm that was not regenerating, and grabbed the thumb and the index finger and started pulling it apart. You guys can imagine the rest. As Deku then fully had the normal right arm um, cut in half. As Deku then dropped the normal on the floor and said, "That's all he is." As everyone in the bubble that Deku created started looking at him confusedly, thinking, "What is that? And what did he just do?" As everyone just started, as everyone just thought about it and kept on looking and just saw what he did and just started feeling sick. As out of nowhere, as I was like, okay. As 13 was saying, "Are you sure that kid is even human?" As Aizawa then said, "I can't really tell you that answer." Then we continue. Deku then looked at all the villains and said, "None of you guys have anything that can stop me." As out of nowhere, Deku got shot or thrown a sword at him, which was able to stab him in the chest. As Deku was like, "Wait, how did this bypass infinite?" As out of nowhere, Deku started falling. Well, yeah, Deku was basically floating in the air with his curse energy. As Deku then started looking while falling and looking around, as he saw a man with black hair come out of the portal, but then come out of Kurogiri's portal and disappear. As he then said, "Oh, so this is how it feels to die." Then out of nowhere, Deku said, "I'm not ready to die." So, yeah, as he started grunting while pulling the sword of his chest, and he said, "It's going to take a while, but I can make this quick." As the moment Deku started falling, you can see the pulse that you guys see on the screen. That's the pulse Deku started hitting. As he said, "Oh, this is interesting. All right, I need to end this." Hollow purple. As when Deku said this, a huge orb of energy started surrounding his whole body. As then the energy started absorbing into Deku's fingers, as he said, "Have fun." The moment he launched it, Deku start Deku just looked at all of them. As all the villains that were there, if they were touched by that, they were getting disintegrated. As the hollow purple orb kept on going towards them, everything around it was being disintegrated, deleted from its way. As Shigaraki and Kurogiri left everybody there, as Deku then said, "Oh, we have chickens here, how interesting." As he suddenly snapped. When he snapped out of nowhere, all the villains were just knocked down, but not fully killed. They were not killed, they were knocked down. I'm not gonna kill anybody. As Deku then saw the normal was left there while Shigaraki and everybody else was just and the normal was left there. Shigaraki and Kurogiri left. As Deku then said, "This was interesting. Quickest fight I had in my life." As Deku then looked down at his shirt and saw that it was covered in blood, as he said, "Huh. No wonder Grandpa told me infinite can be bypassed sometimes." I'll be fine. This is a one and one thing. As Deku started floating down and just stood there looking at all the villains knocked out, as he said, "There's a pile of bodies of knocked out people over there. And there's a pile of people sleeping on the floor right now. Well, knocked out, not sleeping." As Deku looked around, waiting for Aizawa to say something, as Aizawa then looked at Deku and said, "Kid, you know that." This was basically after when Deku was stabbed by the sword, all his curse energy was fully absorbed back into him just to make the regeneration faster. As Deku noticed that when he was taking the sword out, but he didn't do anything about it. As Aizawa was already next to Deku, as Deku then felt an arm on his shoulder, and then we go back to present time, where Aizawa would tell Deku, "Well, kid, you know what you did isn't right, right? You understand, right?" As Deku looked at him and said, as he was putting his blindfold back on, "What I did was just to stop anything from happening. There's nothing you or anyone in this world can tell me what is right or wrong. One thing and one thing alone that I know I was told. Throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one." When Aizawa heard this, he just said in his head, "Cocky as hell, aren't we?" But he didn't say it aloud. As Sukuna just said, "Yep," just like his grandfather, cocky as hell. As Deku then said, "Yo, I can hear you." As Sukuna said, "Yep, you can hear me, but you know that's the truth." As Deku just disconnected the link between them and just waited. As Ida came through the doors with all the heroes, and everybody there, even Nezu was on top of all my shoulder, was being was shocked to see that all the villains were knocked out, nothing happened. Aizawa was just really brutally damaged. Bro's body was his whole body was damaged, but he was still able to move. As Deku then said, "Hmm, let me give you a hand." As Deku then made upon it and put his hand on Aizawa's shoulder and just said, "I have not tried this healed." Where out of nowhere, Deku's energy transferred to Aizawa and healed his body, as Aizawa was able to move his hand and able to see from his right eye, because the Nova was basically squishing his head onto the floor. As Aizawa, and then Leku looked at 13 and saw she was pretty wounded as well, but not as bad as in the anime, as Deku said, heal. Deku still had enough energy, but he was tired from doing that with both people. As Deku then looked at Aizawa and said, "Well, this is probably gonna be interesting, but I hope you I hope this does not get me in trouble. This is just a one-time thing. Let's hope I don't do this again." As Aizawa nodded and just went to talk to the other heroes. As the other heroes looked at Aizawa and asked for explanations. Aizawa started talking and talking as he pointed at Deku, and then everybody else's eyes just went wide. Even the heroes whose expressions couldn't really be told very well had one. As Deku was there, looking at the normal, as the police came in and started taking the normal, and then medical girl. I need us to learn how to say her name correctly. I'm gonna just say medical girl came in and started asking all the kids if they were alright. As Deku was the first one to be asked by her, but he said he's fine. As he pulled his shirt and showed the wound was no longer there. As he said, "That sword though, can you please get a scan on it? It makes no sense how I almost died thanks to that." As she understood and told the police to get a scan on there. As Deku then looked at Aizawa and all the other heroes and said, "If you don't mind, I want to go home." As Deku started walking out of the building, where Izumi and Bakugo and everybody else was just staring there at Deku, wondering, why is he like this? As Deku then looked back at them and said, "Are we leaving or are you guys gonna stand there?" As everybody just nodded and started walking towards the bus. As Nezu and all the other heroes stopped Deku, and Nezu was the first one to speak. "Once again, we meet Mr. Midoriya. I have a few questions for you about this incident that I was told by my worker over here, Aizawa. He told me that you were the one to stop that thing over there." As Deku then said, "Yeah, I was. So what does that have to do with stopping me from going back home?" As Nezu then said, "You see, your power has truly not been studied by anyone or truly known by anything, as you only showed a couple of your abilities the in the entrance exam, and Aizawa was able to see some of your abilities in this fight." As Deku said, continue, what's wrong?" Then they kept on going. "Well, young man, you need to understand that you are the first in how many generations to have this much power? 2 generations, my grandfather and me." As they all looked at him and said, "Wait, there's another person like you," as Deku then said, "Oh, there's multiple, trust me, but they were not as strong as me or my grandfather." As everybody just stared at Deku and kept on wondering what does he mean by that. As Deku then said, "If he ever decides to pop up to any of the meetings that involve teacher meetings with parents, he'll be here." As Deku then looked As then Deku was looked at by Nezu, as Nezu then said, "Alright, Mr. Midori, I will see you tomorrow for school. Please get yourself checked out before you do anything. It looks like you had a pretty rough wound on your body." Pointing at Deku's chest, as Deku then said, "Oh, that? Nah, I'll be fine. That is just a regular old wound. I won't die." As everybody was able to see, the chest was just bleeding. He wasn't fully wounded. He was just covered in blood from the sore. As Deku then said, "Well, goodbye." As Deku then teleported to the bus, going to the back of the seat to the back of the bus where he would be able to sleep, since most of the time in buses the bigger seats are in the back. As Deku went back there and started and fell asleep, where everyone then went back into the bus as they were told by Aizawa in 13. As Medic Girl asked, "So who healed you, Aizawa?" And said, "You know who it was." And she said, "Huh, so he did it again." And then she asked, "Same for you, 13?" As 13 nodded, confused at how a kid was able to use that many abilities to heal her, to heal and fight. As Deku would then wake up from a sneeze, saying, "Somebody's talking about me." As Sukuna would then say, "You think?" As Deku would say, "Shut up," as he went back to bed. Then out of nowhere, we would skip a couple of minutes, or let's just say 30 to 25 minutes later, where Deku would be at the school, leaving the school to go home. As Bakugo, Todoroki, Kirishima, Denki, and every other boy in the class, while the girls were following them, stopped Deku. As Deku would be then asked by them, "Who are you truly, Izuku, Midori, or Deku?" As Deku then said, "That is something interesting. Why don't you ask Izumi Midori over there?" As Deku would point at her, then she would say, "I don't truly know who he is anymore. He fully came different the moment his hair started changing into that white color, and his eyes, well, they were already blue. But the moment he left with our grandfather, he fully changed." As everybody then looked at Izuku and said, "That is interesting. But yeah, you're right on that. I truly did change. But nothing changed a lot. Nothing truly changed about me. I'm still the same quirkless kid as I am, but as I was. Sorry, I said it wrong. As I was. But my powers are now different than yours, so I understand why you guys should be scared of me. But no need to be scared. I have no grudge against anybody here. I just want to go home." As Deku teleported to their body, as everybody was confused at how he was able to do that. As Deku then said, "You'll get used to it."